All right. Good evening, everyone. How's been the life in the crypto world? All right. Yeah. So Ramesh confirmed before even I asked the question. That's like, let's get ahead of Vivek before he asks a question. Uh, yes. Thank you. Thank you for confirming. Yes, Samuel says ADA price is falling since 1.602 weeks ago. That's okay. I mean, ADA has reached $3 some time ago. And I don't know where it is right now. We'll get to the specific price, etc. But where is it right now? It used to be number 3. Now it's number 6, 1.31. Not too bad. From 1.6 to 1.3, it's okay. And this is an asset class wherein 20, 30, 50% is just okay. It's nothing. I mean, that if we can't stomach that volatility, we shouldn't be in this asset class. Well, we got stocks to invest. Buy S&P 500 ETF. Don't buy the meme stocks or don't buy the high-tech growth stocks because they are all bleeding as well. Right now, the markets are all risk-off markets. So we are seeing all the risky assets, so-called risky assets, because they don't make any money right now. They will make money in future. So all those assets are weak in the markets, which include high-growth tech stocks as well as crypto. So that's in crypto generally, have a lot bigger drawdowns than the stocks. So fine, from 1.6 to 1.31, that's okay. Could go even further down. That's life in crypto. But again, we still, I'm of opinion that I still want to make sure that I analyze the project, understand what the project is doing, and if that makes sense to me, yeah, I'll pick up and hold it. So that's my philosophy. By the way, so today we're going to review one token that was brought up by from our meetup last week, Phantasma. So we're going to talk about Phantasma today. Of course, we'll look at weekly funds flow and a couple of other news items that crossed my eye and stuff that I've done. If you want to share something, feel free to share your musings, see what you have done, and anything new that you've learned or anything new that you have figured out in the crypto world. It'll be great to talk about that. Is it possible to do ETH option trading? Looks like you have to deposit the cash in Coinbase account for the trade. If you want to do so on options on ETH, I think there are, for example, I can't recollect the name, but there is one exchange where you can actually do options, but the liquidity is almost close to none. So this is not really a great outlet to do option trading as a retail investors. I mean, if you want to go, you can go to DYDX, some of the decentralized exchange, where I know there are futures. I guess there may be options as well. Those are not US regulated exchanges where you may be able to do some option trading. What you can do is on CME futures, you can actually do an option on CME futures. What I heard that on ETH recently, I think CME has launched a micro futures. So Ramesh might want to check out that micro futures on CME. I have not done it, so I haven't been following this, but I think I read somewhere or heard somewhere that recently they've launched it. Micro Ether, yeah, it is on CME. So Or they launched what, 3 days ago? So you can, I believe there may be options on this one, METC one. So you might check this out. So that's one way. But again, this is not with a spot ether. Is there any good place to follow ADA technical development? So ADA team, so they provide update every third Thursday or something, IOHK. They provide update pretty every month on what has happened on ADA ecosystem. So let's say if you just go to YouTube, search for IOHK. So it's called 360. So for example, they provided Cardano 360 November. They do a mid-month as well as end of a month update. It's fairly long, wherein each of the, I would say, the development managers of different streams will talk about, and in terms of what's the progress has been done and what are they working on. So that is one way to look at where the progress of this. Number two is to follow the Twitter. They post more regularly on their Twitter account on what's happening from a development perspective on the Cardano ecosystem. Third is to follow Project Catalyst, because Project Catalyst is their, I would say, a funding program. And a lot of folks who are actually building or want to build solutions on top of Cardano will actually come and pitch their projects on the town hall for Project Catalyst. So you can, it's, again, this one is fairly long. It depends on how much time you may have. You may want to go, and if you're interested, maybe look at what's happening in this one. So let me see, have they provided any more details? Yeah, so someone is trying to build incubator. Yeah, so these are a few things where you can follow up on progress. What's the progress that is happening on Cardano ecosystem? How do people trade cryptos using margin? If you have margin enabled on your brokerage account, and then you can trade probably futures, etc. In some of these foreign exchanges, you can actually, again, that's the margin is available on futures. At least that's what I know. I don't know if the margin is available on spot or not, but margin is available on futures. And exchanges like Binance, etc., DYDX, they give a huge margin for futures. And when the liquidation happens, a lot of those folks also get liquidated. That's what we saw this week. Over the weekend, when Bitcoin got, when there was a weakness in Bitcoin, a lot of folks got liquidated because they were all very long on the future side. All right. Any further questions? Any new stuff done on the crypto side? We're just getting warmed up, and we'll get started with our regular agenda. Well, let's see if there are any more questions. Zifty, so you have to request or apply for margin just like with TD or Fidelity. I am not aware because I haven't done it myself, Zifty. So might want to check it out. You may not have to. Not on Coinbase. Not on Coinbase. Well, these are the exchanges like Binance. If you're doing futures, you get margin like DYDX and probably some other foreign exchanges. I don't think on Coinbase you can do that. Again, I haven't tried it, so I don't have a first-hand experience. It's only theory that I'm talking about. Any new coins or new projects you followed? Anyone tried any new project? Of course, we will talk about Phantasma in as a part of today's discussion. We're wondering anyone else had anything else that they discussed. All right, so let's get into our regular cadence of this meetup. If you're joining here for the first time, welcome. A quick intro. So we meet up every Thursday to talk about what's happening in the crypto world. For myself, I work in a technology sector and been very interested in the crypto as well as the stock market for quite some time. We've been having sessions around the stock on Saturdays, started also talking about cryptos. So soon we realized that crypto is becoming a big economy of its own. So separated out the stocks and the crypto discussions. On Saturday for almost 2.5 to 3 hours, we talk about general stock investing. And Thursdays are reserved for looking at crypto projects. I want to focus on the projects and not really price action, because the prices can go crazy sometimes. But I generally, my way of looking at it is let's focus on the projects. Let's try to understand what these projects are planning to do and how the overall ecosystem is growing. Appreciate if you can all share your knowledge, what you're looking at. Just want to learn from each other. This space is moving so fast that it's almost impossible for someone to continue to stay up to speed, especially if you're not from this industry. You know, my day job is not on the crypto, and we can spend only little bit amount of a time to stay up to speed on this one. So if you have any feedback, if you want any projects for review, great. Let's talk about that. What I don't do is talk about, you know, shit coins or shell coins or say how it's gonna moon or why this project, you know, will become 10x in next 3 weeks. I don't do that myself. I don't invest in that way. So I don't talk about that way. So if you're looking for some quick tips, I would disappoint you. That's not the way, at least I build my portfolio. Right? Yeah, you can always have some lottery tickets, but if you really want to build your portfolio, I think it has to go the way we do stock investing. Pick up great businesses, pick up great projects, keep focus on it, and stay, you know, invested for long. If project focus is great, price come and goes based on individual risk appetite. Exactly. Right. Cool. With that, let's get into today's discussion. As always, I'll start with the weekly funds flow report. Just tells us, you know, where the money is moving, where the stuff is happening from institution's perspective. So even though we saw, we noticed there was a I would say bloodbath, you know, these cryptos go up and down. There was a weakness for sure in the crypto market over the weekend, but overall for the previous week. And so this report is till the end last Friday. So it doesn't have the Saturday, Sunday weakness in the markets. But again, for the previous week, still there was a net inflow from institutional investors. As a retail investors, we might have been jittered by what we saw on Friday on the stock market as well as on the crypto market. Everything was risk off. The stocks were selling off, especially the high growth, as well as the crypto was selling off. But those who hold long-term view, those who don't get in and out, institutions perspective, there is still money coming into crypto from institutions. So overall 184 million last week, though on Friday there were some profit taking, or you say, you know, reduce risk reduction, but net still an inflow. Bitcoin continues to be the favorite project of big money players by far. Even though as a retail investor, we may be thinking Bitcoin is already stable. Bitcoin is not moving as much as some of the other projects. What's the upside growth left in Bitcoin? It's already, what is it right now? 48, 46. How big can it become? From an institution perspective, most of the money still keeps going in Bitcoin. Okay. Next one, Solana saw again inflow of 4.6 million. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana's, these are some of the top ones from institutions perspective, right? So we look at this week. Again, no change from the previous week. Bitcoin was the top, close to 145 million. Ethereum 25. Solana was 4.6 million, whereas Polkadot and Cardano, money rotated out of those projects, right? But by far, Bitcoin and Ethereum are way ahead of any other projects from an institution's perspective. Now, I think, is it today or was it yesterday? MicroStrategy bought another tranche of Bitcoin. I don't know, was it maybe today or was it yesterday somewhere? So Bitcoin continues to generate a lot more interest, as compared with any other project. So that's an overall from the big institution money movement. Right. Let's look at some of the stuff that happened earlier this week or late last week. So this is one chart that I want to bring your attention to. Again, we're not talking about prices because the price action probably works only for highly liquid assets, but many of the other smaller ones, they can easily be manipulated. But if you really look at this last week, so this shows the futures open interest, and we have been having a lot of open interest, and then because we had a weakness over close to the end of the last week, a lot of those open bullish futures got liquidated. And and again, we have seen this time and time again. Whenever you will see the lot of open accumulation of long open interest on futures, then we will see that it's always happening. It's just like the happening in stock. If everyone takes one side of the trade, and if there is a slight weakness, that becomes a cascading impact on my, hey, my margin call will basically, or my stop loss will cause your stop loss, will cause someone else's stop loss, right? So when we had an event on Friday wherein the overall market was weak and the investors are going towards non-risky assets, that means selling some of their crypto holdings in which probably they have had some good gains, or then when those Bitcoin went down, many of these futures positions got liquidated. And when they hit their stop losses, what happens? The sale happens. Right? And when the sale happens, this puts again more downward pressure, which pushes the price further down. Someone else's stop loss will get hit. And then this cascade into the sudden downward movement that we saw. It's not the first time. It's whenever this leverage and the open interest goes really high. And plus, there are some other metrics. Maybe in some session, I really want to go through all the metrics and try to understand how those are correlated, because there is a pattern among these metrics. These are called on-chain metrics because Bitcoin is an open blockchain. It's an open system. Anyone can query the blockchain to see how the movement of the coins is happening, right? Who is holding, not who is holding, but what address the coins are coming in, what address the Bitcoins are moving to, and you can actually derive a lot of intelligence out of it. Right? Now, as with a lot of charts, it's not the only one chart that we should look at. We should look at multiple charts to understand and frame an overall opinion. So my target for this holidays season is to actually start studying these on-chain metrics to understand, to derive some intelligence out of it. And maybe, once I understand more about it, we'll probably talk about this in one of the meetups. There are many charts, short-term holders, long-term holders, output profit ratio. There are a bunch of charts. I'm just trying to get started on it. But this one was especially telling around the liquidation that happened on the futures. We saw this same thing happen around May, and now we saw it again. Zifty, is there a way to tell which side of the futures trade is concentrated bull or bear strikes? This will be bull, because if it would be a bear, then we would see the reverse way, that the futures are getting liquidated because they were short and the Bitcoin has gone high. Because these futures got liquidated because the Bitcoin fell down, so most of these were all long positions. And the narrative, Zifty, has been, hey, Bitcoin will hit 100K by end of December, right? And a lot of folks would have piled up on some futures on some higher strike prices, and or probably would have long positions. And if those didn't hit, Bitcoin didn't go over there, and rather it went the other way around, those would have gotten liquidated. So yeah, that chart was after the fact. That doesn't help. Yes, but the question is, and that is what I'm saying is, I need to spend more time and looking at the multiple charts to at least understand when it's one side of the trade is getting really hot, right? This does tell us that the last weakness was because a lot of futures got liquidated, right? But could we have derived some intelligence to say, the long side is getting too hot, be cautious? That's the stuff that we need to arrive at and figure out. So I agree with you. This is after the fact. This is after it has happened, and now we know. But there may be a way to look at, and again, there is no guarantees there, right? But there could be a way to at least understand if if all the investors are moving to the one side of the trade, because that will always happen when everyone will be long in one event, and you will see a crazy drop down. If everyone goes short, and then you will see suddenly a short squeeze. So the point is to understand these on-chain metrics to see who is moving and who is buying and who is selling. When I say who, means are those the long-term holders, or those the short-term holders, or those who are bought it just now? Are more coins moving towards exchange? It means there could be more selling pressure coming in. These information is available because blockchain is open. Or are people moving their tokens out of exchange into cold wallets? It means if I'm moving my coin from an exchange out to the cold wallet, it means I'm in no hurry to sell. But if I want to sell and my tokens or assets are sitting in a cold wallet, I will have to move it to exchange to sell it. So a lot of assets moving into exchange could be a sign that people are maybe getting ready to be ready in a position so that if they can sell it immediately when they want to, right? So these are the sort of information and metrics maybe we can correlate and try to derive some intelligence. And that is why I want to spend this coming holiday to learn about this. We always have to learn. It's a long journey. right? And maybe once I get a little more educated on these, maybe we'll talk about it. I would be interested to know and hear if anyone else has been looking at these on-chain metrics. If that's the case, we can do some cross-learning. Oh, what else caught my eye was, I was just thinking about this whole decentralized exchanges, right? Which means we say these are not controlled, cannot go down and all that stuff. But earlier this week, Amazon AWS went down. I know like Venmo was impacted. Some of the news websites were impacted. We had in our company, we were also impacted. Some of the services were impacted. And surprisingly, DYDX, which is a decentralized exchange, also put up a notice saying that they are seeing some deterioration in their services because of AWS. So that's a very interesting question. Is, are you only decentralized as much as AWS is? A point to think. Could that become a choke point? DYDX is a big exchange, especially around the derivatives, for derivatives trading. And when AWS went down, I think it was like one portion of AWS. I think some servers on the East Coast or some segment was having problems on Tuesday. Yeah, I don't know, maybe. I can't recall the exact day. But on that day, then DYDX also had some service interruptions. So the decentralized exchanges may not be that decentralized what we were thinking around. So when we look at a degree of decentralization, it is important to look at the overall stack. At what level of your technology stack are you decentralized? Is your application decentralized? Is your the data storage decentralized? Is the execution of your smart contracts decentralized? What else is, at what levels of your components are decentralized? Is a question. Today we don't have to grapple with it because everyone assumes that we don't know. So things like AWS is like a utility, and we don't think about any projects that claim to be fully decentralized but are hosted on AWS. Maybe at some part of a time when we have projects that are really where the decentralization really matter, we will have to ask these questions. Sam will say, I loved AWS went down, I didn't spend. I don't think Amazon.com went down. Okay, on Tuesday at Amazon convenience store app won't open. Wow. Zifty says, E-Trade had problems with server this week. Wonder if it's related with AWS. I'm certain that it probably was related with AWS. There are a lot of issues that happened. I know some of these food deliveries, don't know whether it's DoorDash or something else. Those businesses had problems because they all probably were hosted or some portion, a particular region was impacted because of AWS went down. So there were a lot of businesses who were reporting interruption in services. But what caught my eye was, apart from all these services, DYDX. I'm like, guys, you're a decentralized exchange. So you're not really decentralized if AWS is the choke point. And related to that, I saw another news, and I don't know why that project foundation didn't make use of this particular news. Was an L0 activity wherein an Ethereum NFT So NFTs on Ethereum blockchain was actually released on ICP, which is the internet computer. So we talked about ICP long ago, but what ICP is trying to build is layer 0, right? So let's maybe do a quick review of what do we mean by layer 0s and layer 1s. Right? So let's bring that up. So today, what we refer as Bitcoin and ETH, those all are, we call them as layer 1 protocols, right? Then on top of it, say on top of Bitcoin, we got Lightning Network, which is layer 2 protocol. Means this is where your main blockchain is. This is where you run your smart contracts. This is where your all the data, etc., gets stored. Now, Lightning Network layer 2 are basically some sort of a scaling solutions on top of it. Any other blockchains, right? They're all called L1s. But this with the ICP, which they've been building, is basically decentralizing the internet itself. Because even for layer 1 to run, they need internet, AWS. You know, let's say if you're running your dApps, Uniswap, etc., that application probably hosted at AWS. We just talked about DYDX went down because AWS was down. What Internet Computer Project, ICP, is trying to do is to create the decentralized layer of the internet itself. Means you can still have your Ethereum smart contracts or Ethereum NFTs, but hosted on ICP, which is basically has a consortium of different data centers. And there are ways of how the whole ICP runs. It's a highly technical and little complicated project to understand, but they have a very grandiose plans. Initially, from a, if you look at a price perspective, had a very bad, debut on exchanges. So, but the project is ambitious, and I don't know why they didn't take advantage of this AWS stuff that happened and talk a lot more about how they can become a solution or provide or have a solution or building a solution towards these central choke points. Because I didn't see anything coming from ICP taking advantage of this. But interesting thing was if you have been looking at NFTs, the Bored Ape, Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs have been extremely popular on OpenSea NFT platform. So which is built on Ethereum blockchain. So the same artist also released NFTs. Those NFTs were minted on Ethereum blockchain, but they are now hosted on ICP. So this is eventually what ICP was trying to do, is to, doesn't matter whether you're Ethereum smart contract or whether you're running, let's say, Bitcoin transactions, you can still do those things on ICP network, right? So, but now this one, actually, I saw that a real world application of what they've been planning to do. So was an interesting development, but I can't understand why the foundation's marketing team was sleeping and didn't take advantage of what happened to AWS. It was a god. It was, let's say, Andy Jassy gifted. they should have taken advantage of it, but I didn't see any marketing or any talks coming from that. But I definitely thought about it because I saw this news over the weekend, and then the AWS went down. I'm like, they're doing some good job. should have taken advantage. So anyway, what happened was they minted a new NFTs, but those were all hosted on ICP. So it is still an Ethereum NFTs. It's an Ethereum smart contract, but those smart contracts are being executed on the computers which are providing the base layer of computing platform is completely decentralized. Zifty, how long was the work server down? No, my work server was okay, but I think some of the surveys, one of our client reported that they were not able to access a portion of our application, but our suspicion was that in that portion of application, client was using the storage from AWS. So our stuff was maybe nothing related to us, but maybe related to the client account. So that's why I know, because I saw chatter during our office, that we are getting impacted. ICP kept rolling down. Yeah, from a price perspective, like I said, they had a horrible debut in the market. From $700 to what now, $40? If you are an ICP holder and got in when it first came to the market, it's been a nightmarish journey. Well, that is why we don't have to have FOMO. We don't have to get in until we see some real work happening on it. It came out to the market early part of May, but this whole project has been in development for 5-6 years, raised tons of funding, hundreds of millions of dollars of funding. And when it came out, it's like, hey, this is going to change the world. The token went all up to like 500 plus. And obviously, those who had gotten these tokens during the initial sale would have gotten a fraction of dollars or maybe a few pennies. I won't blame them for selling it at $500. Okay. So if you're not one of those initial holders, we don't have to get into FOMO, whether it's a stock or whether it's a crypto project. We've got to keep an eye on, okay, what are they building? You know, it's a huge plan that they have. Have they built anything? Is there a progress on it? That's the thing that we have to focus on. So it was good to see that at least something moved ahead on it. Yeah. ICP is very research concentrated. They didn't capture the opportunity to pitch. Exactly. And even if you look at their, because I've been keeping eye on ICP because this is one of a unique projects. I think there is only one other project that is trying to do the same stuff what ICP is trying to do. We have a lot of other projects which are building blockchain, building DEXs, building NFT marketplace, building gamings. You know, all those have got a real a textbookish steps, what they want to do. And if you do those things, your token will go high. And a lot of projects are doing that. ICP is the one which is doing something which is completely different. And I think there is one more project. I forgot the name of that. And we'll spend time on that one also, which is looking at the same problem which ICP is looking at. So that's why I still keep my eye on ICP. What's happening on their, how are they building it? And if you look at their content or the updates they provide, it's all deeply technical. And with zero marketing, and Zifty, you're right, it's the nature of geeks. You have to be geek to understand it. And they don't market it really well like some of the other blockchains do. Their YouTube views will be a few hundred, not even 1,000. Whereas a lot of crap presentation or crap updates will have tens of thousands of views. But that's the case. Most folks are very research oriented, and which was really evident when I said, hey, you didn't take advantage of what happened to AWS. That was their moment. Should have talked about why ICP could be a solution to that problem. Anyway, so saw some more progress. Still, again, could be a project to keep an eye on. Like I said, I want to focus on those projects which are building infrastructure which we may have to use 10 years later. Right? Picks and shovels play. Frankly, I don't know which DEX will survive. I don't know which NFT platform will be around 5 years down the line. And I don't know which payment system will survive. But if there are if there are companies or projects that are building core infrastructure layer, that's the hardest thing to do. But infrastructure, every other project will need. Those projects may be competing with each other, but all of them will need infrastructure. So that is important to focus on the core infrastructure projects. Not that the others are not important, but it's a picks and shovels play. Still, you can spread your money or your time and energy and dollars among others, but I'm always interested in which projects are building more infrastructure level stuff. Okay. And the last one before, okay, we'll probably look at a couple other things, but a personal update, I eventually got it done. Now I am officially, whatever you want to call, a crypto geek, a crypto enthusiast, or someone who just want to dabble in crypto market. I got myself an ETH domain finally. So this was again one of my to-do list. Has been pending for quite some time, and this week I finally got through it. Let's see if 10 years down the line this .eth still makes sense or not. But as long as I call myself a dabbler in crypto, then we should talk about the language of crypto and be in the same community. So got myself a domain .eth. All right, so any other questions so far? Anyone else have a .eth or been keen on this or been following? This is again similar to going back to our earlier part of the internet. If you are an enthusiast, want to dabble in internet, stay active in internet, get yourself a domain name. Right? Same as the case on this one is, instead of, this is kind of a domain name for our Ethereum address, right? It's a recognizable name. So if you want to say, tell someone to send you some ETH, you can just tell them, like, send it to your name.eth, and it will automatically get resolved to your Ethereum wallet address that you used while creating this domain. So, and for me, my personal reason was to, just declare or show that, hey, I'm a part of this community. I'm the one who is also interested in crypto. And yes, I'm committing my time and I'm committing my dollars, and I'm also making it part of my identity. I thought about it because my regular job is not in this one. How would I look like if I have my .eth behind me? I'm like, does it matter? Would 5 years down the line, do I question anyone who's got their domain name .com? No. Domain name .info? No, I don't question any of my colleagues. So this should become, over the year, should become more prevalent if crypto economy starts to grow. So I see a question from Zifty. We can choose any ETH name we want, right? Yes. You can choose as long as it is available. So we might see those domain squatters. Probably there are already domain squatters which are taking those domain names, but you have to pay ETH gas fee. And you have to pay, just like you pay for your domain name, an annual fee for refresh, for keeping this. So that answers the second question. Address forever, you have to pay annual fee. You have to pay annual fee. You can choose when you're doing it on ENS domain. So I used ENS domain. Let's go to there. This is where I did ENSdomains.com. you can basically check here. Okay, so I don't have a MetaMask on this browser, so it won't connect. So you can come and check here. Let me see, what does it say? This already exists. 1208 is when I registered. So it's not available anymore, but ENS domains is one. I think there is another one, unstoppable domains. And now we are seeing a few more traditional executives moving on to this crypto site. So unstoppable domains just got a new new head of business development from Amazon. So he was a VP of business dev at Amazon, recently joined unstoppable domains. So last chart which I want to look at before we jump into Phantasma is, again, these are on-chain metrics charts. Couple of charts is almost 22% of the Bitcoin buying has happened after the Bitcoin overall market cap had, was more than $1 trillion. So again, this chart just shows that maybe now this is an asset class which is, it is established, Bitcoin is establishing itself as an investable asset class, because 22% of the overall Bitcoin, the distribution in terms of buying had happened after the 1 trillion market cap. The other interesting chart, despite whatever we saw earlier this week, is this, which is, this is again an interesting chart which shows, oops, okay, almost, now we can get it. So these different colors shows this is called the hodl waves. The top one, purple, is the addresses or the number of addresses or the Bitcoins that have been held in the wallets, and which have been, more than 2 years old. Right? Those, you may call them as a long-term holders or diamond holders, 2 year or 5 year. So the shortest ones are here. Hey, we bought it, let's say, a week ago, and maybe this one is, we bought it 10 days ago. Again, the idea is the short-term holders here, as you go up, these are the long-term wallets. So we did see a lot of, some, I don't have the real account, so I just have a screenshot. But again, this shows that whatever happened the last week was those who had bought or got into Bitcoin recently, when the market fell down, when we had the liquidations, a lot of those short-term holders actually sold in panic, and some of those long-term holders or hodlers, if I may, they actually increased their stakes. So there was a movement from short-term holders to long-term hodlers. So we really look at it, despite whatever has been happening in the Bitcoin price, this band has been going consistently. Another interesting chart. Again, on-chain metrics. This one, again, which shows over this year, the long-term holders will generally start to take profits when the market is going high. And this is generally where the short-term holders get in. And when this short-term holders get liquidated or start to sell, the long-term holder will start to buy in. So this is eventually what we should be doing is, when it's going up, those long-term holders who have been holding for some time, they start to take some profits off, while the short-term holders are buying in. And when there is a panic sell, the money rotates from the short-term to long-term holders. The trick is to combine all these charts. These are just 3 or 4. There are many more. The trick is to combine and build some theory around behavior and how the assets are moving over the blockchain. and how does that impact the pricing? Hopefully we'll be able to derive some intelligence. So that's what my target is. Maybe you'll spend some time during these holidays to learn about that. Okay. All right, already everyone set for maybe doing a deep dive in Phantasma. Anyone holds Phantasma? Let me sip some water. No holders of Phantasma? Interested in Phantasma? I can't recall who asked for this last week. Or do you want to talk about something else? I'm open for anything. Or if you want to have a general Q&A around wallets or how do you get started, or exchanges, maybe let's do that. Zifty says just a brief overview is good. Unfortunately, when I do a deep dive, it's generally not brief. That's a problem. Because if I just look at the website, everything will be all rosy. So we have to go deeper than a website, look at a white paper, look at everything else. So, but if you have any other questions, maybe let's tackle those things first before we look at Phantasma. Short deep dive. Or any other project if we want to look at. All right, so let's look at Phantasma then. And as always, this is only for our education. I'm not telling you to buy Phantasma. I'm not telling you to sell your Phantasma holdings. I have no idea who holds what on Phantasma, but I just want to understand what the heck is this project and what is this company trying to do. So let's always first we'll start with their website, Phantasma.io. Okay. One other thing that I did this weekend, I'll still have to work on it, is to basically start to build up a system so that I become more objective when we're evaluating any of these projects. Right? We don't have unlimited supply of money. We are retail investors. We are not institutional investors. So how do I know, given the limited amount of money that we have, how do we know that should I invest in Phantasma? Or should I invest in ICP? Or should I invest in Terra Luna or any other project? Which one should go? Or if I may want to invest in what, which one is better than the others? So I do have similar framework for the stock side. When we do evaluate a stock, I do try to rank them based on certain criteria. But I haven't done it for crypto. So I thought maybe Phantasma could be the first one in which we can use. So we will go through that together. And here's a brief overview of maybe how I want to look at these projects. And it's open for discussion. If you think we should talk about some more factors while evaluating any projects, let's bring that up. So definitely I want to look at a white paper and see what's the quality of white paper. Right? This will tell us a lot of things. For example, maybe, and believe me, I've seen some white papers which have been just pilfered from some other projects. It's got a typos. It's got the stuff that doesn't even belong to that project. It's got some other project name buried because they forgot to do a copy and find and replace on all the words. So it is good to at least look at a white paper. And if there is no white paper, that's a strict no-no. Okay. Then we talk about what the project is about, right? Is it an L1? Is it an app? Is it L2? What kind of project is, right? What's the overall scope? Right? In the stock side, this is what I term it as an optionality. Is a total addressable market. So what's the unique proposition? What's the roadmap? Do they have a competitive advantage? How have they solved the trilemma solution? Because I see many projects saying we have 10,000 TPS. Great. How? What did you give up? What's more important for me if you came to 10,000 TPS? Is TPS more important for me? Or is a censorship resistant more important for me? Right? Look at that. What's their investor profile? What's happening on their Explorer? Is there any activity? Look at tokenomics. Generally, I talk about these things, but I never had built any structure. So this is what I'm trying to build. Again, holidays in next few weeks. At least we'll have some little less work from office. Want to finalize this one. Team. How great is the team? What's their experience? And again, if you look at the team pages, if you see someone's profile listed there, but actually doesn't work there, you know what to be done. Project adoption. Again, most of these are everything about adoption. The tech could be great, but if there are no developer ecosystem for it, if folks are not building on it, users are not using it, it ain't gonna go anywhere. Then we look at little bit on how the asset has been doing. Then some of the deal breakers for me, which mean negative ranking. Is it your proprietary code or is it open source? Has it been an incident of rug pulls by the project teams? Strict no. It means they are not community friendly. Are there any negative news around this, right? Was this hacked recently? Any other goof ups by management? What's the attack surface area? The compromise that this project has made, does it expose more towards the hacking, right? Or censorship by governments, or censorship by a particular company, right? What's the tokenomics? Is it too complicated? And there are projects in which you have to pull my hair to understand why they have to do so many things. What's the compromise on decentralization? Any C-suite shuffles? Again, this is like I'm just starting to build it. So help me out. We're all gonna do it together. If you think we should be adding some more data, more points into this one against which we should review a project, let's do that. Okay. So we'll come back and maybe rank it. And the reason why I did was that so that once we do Phantasma, we do another one, and we can determine a threshold of, hey, if the score is above this, maybe investable or not. If it is below this, don't you look at it. Okay, we got 5 of them, then you know which one is comparatively ranked better than others, right? And a year down the line, if I have to go back and say, what the heck did I touch this? I know exactly why I touched this. I have the data in terms of what was going in my mind when I reviewed this particular stuff. Right? Then we can go back and say, has anything changed since my initial review, and become better as an investor. Right? So that's the whole point. Haven't been doing it for the crypto yet, but want to start doing it for crypto as well. If they like a structured approach, glad. And thank you for adding one more, saying how long the project has been. Great longevity of the project. Again, we can change the weightage and all that. We're just beginning on this one. Is how long the project has been around. And I think somewhere I had market cap also. Is there? Yeah, circulating market cap. Because I don't want to look at something which is like 50 million, 100 million. It's all easily manipulatable. All right, so we will use this once we review the Phantasma as a project. Maybe then we update this, and then we'll see what score should be our threshold. Zifty says, you must have a big database, all the stocks and cryptos. How do you find time? This is beyond my job, and taking care of family. This is all I do. Netflix, maybe only on a weekend, or Netflix or Disney Plus. That's my pleasure time. Probably I'll maybe watch for an hour over the weekend. Other than that, this is my fun time. I can say that. So this is not work for me. This is how I entertain myself, is look at some stocks, look at some cryptos, understand about the business, understand about the projects, understand what's happening in the market. So that's why I quit Facebook. If you've been listening to me on Saturdays, I don't like Facebook as an app, but I like it as an investor, because when I realized I need to find time, I'm like, I'm out of Facebook. That itself opened up some time for me. Yeah. So eventually, if you want to do something, you will find time. And this is my, what to say, leisure time or relaxation time is understanding cryptos and the stocks. All right, so let's switch back. Let's look at Phantasma. I already spent some time on it. Oops, where we got Phantasma? But I'll bring that up later. So what this company does. So if you go to their website, first thing is, let's go to the horse's mouth, look at their website, and see what they have to talk about themselves, right? So coming to their website says, smart NFTs, gaming, dApps, we connect, you create and control. Okay, Phantasma experience. So one thing which I don't like is any project just talking about how to get their tokens. Okay, if a project has got some real value, you don't have to incentivize that or tell people or market your tokens, right? But that's okay. I want to see what this company has. They got something on a gaming, non-fungible tokens, dApps, and the developers SDK. So they got all the right keywords in here. And we have seen many times, any new blockchain coming up need to have all these, to build any ecosystem. Earlier, there were only kind of a store of value. You can do some transactions. Then we started having NFTs. We're starting having dApps and DEXs. And recent phenomena is gaming. Earlier, let's say a year ago, many of the new blockchains weren't even talking about gaming. But after Axie Infinity became a success, any new blockchain coming in have immediately added gaming onto their services or onto their overall ecosystem. Right? So they got all right right keywords. Right? It's built for gaming. Okay, we'll come back to this. I want to see, okay, what's their tech and how they are behaving. So let's go to their white paper and see how they build. So I do a white paper already in here. Phantasma chain. So their goal is to create an ecosystem of dApps which people want to use all on the same economic system. This is okay. It is a fast, secure, and scalable blockchain. The trilemma. Now they're saying they're kind of addressing all three parts of the trilemma that allows for interoperability with other blockchains. So this is important for me because if it is interoperable, this is at an infrastructure level. Right? There are not many blockchains which are interoperable. Now, what we don't know is how they're becoming interoperable. How are they different from others which are trying to create interoperability using bridges, while maintaining a decentralized governance system with an innovative staking mechanism and dual token system. It allows for users to access different digital goods and services in areas of communication, entertainment, blah, blah, blah. So let's do a deep dive into what they have to offer. Core concept. This chain will allow infinite side chains to be deployed. That is interesting. Every dApp on Phantasma chain can run it on its own side chain independently from all other side chains. This removes the risk that one single dApp could shut down the whole network whenever it is being spammed. So I have my own big concern on this is everyone running their independent side chains. If I hope the project team understand when you refer as a side chain, it means they have their own governance or a consensus mechanism, or otherwise it shouldn't be called as a side chain, should be calling something else, right? But I don't know how they're going to scale with this. So we can validate 10K transactions per block. 10K transactions per block. One block will have 10,000 transactions in it, which in my opinion is a huge. It means the block size could be very big, means you may not have a very decentralized ecosystem of validators who can validate or who can produce the block. The max block size may be changed in future to improve network performance. Okay, so the first one, scalability itself is in question because they'll have to keep changing the block size. The capacity not only applies to main chain, but also to the single chain, all other side chains. Unlimited sidechain support, main chain sidechain, block producers, validating blocks, and 10K transactions per block. Okay, let's understand how the block validation happens. Right. So, tokenomics. The governance token called SOL has an initial max supply of 94 million. To sustain improvements, blah, blah, blah. For years to come, we will introduce an inflation. So there is a 3% inflation. Every year, 1% goes to the block producers, 1% go to the developer community, and 1% probably goes to the foundation so that they can help the ecosystem grow. Okay, that's about SOL. They talked about dual token systems. At the same time, okay, let me go somewhere else. Okay, there we go, dual token systems. Now, for ease of use and widespread adoption, either neither efficient or realistic to pay a small fee in SOL for every transaction. Why not? So, this chain introduced a dual token system called Phantasma Energy with a ticker KCAL. Is a network resource token which will be used for transaction fees. So here's again something to keep in mind is now they got a dual token system. One is for seems to be like for governance, and you don't use that for any transactions. For transactions, there is another token called KCAL. I don't know what it's actually called, but that is called energy token, which the users will have to use for doing any transactions on this blockchain. Right? I'm still not able to wrap my head around what's the need for two, unless you want to just make sure that SOL is only used for staking and for nothing else. So everybody who stakes SOL, so which means it is used for staking, and because they're using a proof of stake for consensus, if I'm holding a SOL, I can stake my SOL and delegate to a particular block producer, and can probably vote in terms of who should be producing a block. But if I stake a SOL, I receive KCAL so that then I can transact on this particular blockchain. Right. Let's skip this. Okay, consensus mechanism, important for us to understand. It has adopted a variant of proof of stake, and they got active block producers and they have a standby block producers. Right? So I also read outside of this is, right, they have 10 active block producers, 15 are standby. Right? This is how they start with 10 active block producers, 15 will be standby. Now, every quarter, there is an on-chain voting happens, and those who have holding SOL can produce who out of these 25 should become an active block producers for the next quarter, right? Which to me seems to be a risky proposition, because if you're depending on only 10, and I think at one part of a time there's only one which actually produces a block. then there's a huge risk of centralization. Number two is, anyone can bribe that block producer if you're depending on very handful number of that. Right? And now that's the reason why they're able to achieve 10x transactions per block and become very, very fast, because it's very close to being a centralized database. So why do you even have to use blockchain? So I have my own concerns on this one. Might be great for some use cases, which they might try to address. May not be great for something else, which if decentralization and it is important, and uptime is important, and the fact that immutability is important, then this may not be the best one. All right. Yeah, so active producers, so the producer will produce the block, then the other standby will basically also verify the blocks. And if the active producer does a bad job, someone from a standby become a next active producer. Okay. Governance system. Yeah, voting on active block producer for the next quarter. We talked about voting to add a new standby block producer slots. Fine. And then funding. Okay. All right. Okay, then they have oracles, third-party oracles. Cool. Let me just bring up something else that I also noted around this particular project. Yeah, so we talked about consensus mechanism. It is delegated proof of stake, 10 active, 15 days. Tokenomics, they got a dual token. Sol is, you can buy it, or if you're a block producer, you earn it when you actually validate a block or produce a block. If I'm buying Sol, I can stake it to participate in governance to select the next block producer. KCAL is what I need to do any transactions. If I were to play a game, or if I'm buying any NFT, or if we're doing transaction, that gas fee need to be paid in KCAL. Right? If I stake Sol, I earn it in KCAL. And I still haven't been able to convince myself, why do you need two separate ones? Right? Scalability is achieved through side chains, because if you have only 10,000 transactions, and this came from an interview of CEO saying, why don't have a lot of block producers? And he was like, in one block, we have only 10,000 transactions. So we don't need a lot more. If our number of transactions increase, then we'll get more block producers. But that's the reason, because they have only one. That's the reason why they're able to get a high scalability. So they have sacrificed decentralization to become more scalable. Right? Now, their main pitch is that it is interoperable. That from Bitcoin, Neo, EOS, it is interoperable. As a user, if you and we'll basically get into their NFT, where you can see some of the NFTs are listed in ETH, some NFTs are listed in Neo, and some of them are in KCALs. Right? Let's look at the block explorer. So they talked about a lot of stuff. 10K transactions per block. What do I see? Do I see that validation through the block explorer? Well, let's go and have a look at that. All right. Too many tabs, too many Google Chrome tabs. Let's bring the block explorer. Oh, where is that? There we go. When I look at a block explorer, I'm like, what's happening here? Only one transaction? You're at height of 321,000 blocks, means probably something must be happening. If you got a gaming stuff, you got a NFT stuff, you got a dApps stuff, and but I don't see any transactions. This is a big red flag for me, saying you got a lot of stuff in it, but who's using it? at least I can't find this from their Explorer. Right? I don't know where else should I be looking at, but if there is activity happening on your blockchain, should get reflected in your Explorers, right? Look at an Ether scan for Ethereum. So let's so Polygon Explorer, Polyscan. What do you see in terms of how many transactions? 134.7 TPS, almost a million, transactions happening here. I see only one or two, which is a red flag. Okay, so from a block explorer, they have it, but nothing much is happening over there, right? What else we wanted to cover? Let's continue our coverage on their website to understand a little more about it. So they got a Pavilion Game Hub. Again, these are great ideas. So Pavilion Game Hub is wherein you can actually create your game and host it here. So they do have a few games around here: Table of Tales, 22 Racing Series, Winter Fury, and all that. Okay, so they're trying to build a gaming platform, a decentralized gaming platform which runs on blockchain. That's for them. It's called the Pavilion, where you can build and you can host all your games. They do have a NFT marketplace. Call it Ghost Market. Now, in which there are bunch of NFTs listed around here, but what I don't understand is if there is so much of a ecosystem, why we don't see transactions coming through. Right? So that's why it is sometimes important to double click and go a little more in the details and beyond just the website has to say. Maybe look at white paper, maybe do a little more of your own investigation. So they do, if I just look in here, they do have a lot of NFTs. And if I were to filter it to look at, looks like they have already built connections for Avalanche, Neo, Polygon, and Banner Smart Chains. I understand why Neo, because their initial, one of the co-founder was earlier in Neo blockchain team. And then he moved on to create and work on Phantasma. So they do have these NFTs that you can buy if you hold AVAX. Let's click on this, buy for 20 AVAX. Again, if you go to, let's say, OpenSea, you're tied only to Ethereum, right? Everything in OpenSea will be priced in Ethereum. But on Phantasma, what they're trying to build is interoperability. So if you hold AVAX and if you want to buy your NFT, rather than creating an account into another NFT marketplace, which is built on AVAX, you create your account on Phantasma, and then you can get an exposure to the marketplaces which accepts AVAX or some of the other blockchains. Okay. But again, great concept, but looking at the transactions, I don't see much of an adoption just yet here. Yeah. So that was on NFT. Now, yield farming. Oops. Okay, that's not a good sign. It was actually working. When I first looked at it, this page was coming up, but then it asking me to connect to their wallet because I don't have that wallet, so I couldn't do anything, but at least the page came up. So they got a couple of wallets, Poltergeist and the Ecto wallet. So if you're using Ethereum, you have a MetaMask as a wallet, or for Bitcoin you got Electrum. Plus there are a bunch of other wallets which are available. And for any good ecosystem, you will have a wallet so that you can buy and sell, or you can engage in DeFi apps using that particular crypto asset. So they got a couple of wallets over here. And yeah, so that's all. So again, I think they have got all the right names in it. And if I go back to the history of this, and this has surprised me, is they got another website, which was Phantasma.info, which still exists, and which is like, from a corporate perspective, I'm like, what the heck are you doing? Which one is the real one? Right? It's just a basic stuff in terms of where you want the viewers to go, or those who are interested in your company to go. Right? Is this the right one? Phantasma Info or Phantasma IO? Is that the right one? I don't know, but this is again definitely a little bit red flag for me. Maybe one of them is old, or maybe they're serving a different purpose. This is only talking about a basic blockchain, and this is overall ecosystem. Could be possibility, right? But they also started talking about the whole ecosystem. So again, I think from a concept perspective, I like how they started with, in terms of what they want to do is to create an interoperable blockchain. One additional thing which I found here is their uniqueness, which is a smart NFTs. So that's a concept which I haven't seen many projects doing, which is a nested and multi-layered NFTs, right? Now, to understand this, so today, each NFT is unique, right? If I buy a image of a car, it's unique, and it's a one piece. What this multi-layered NFT does, and there are two things, nested and multi-layered, right? So what these multi-layered NFTs does is I can add one NFT into another one. So for example, it means as a developer, let me put it the right way. It's like a Lego blocks for NFT. And for example, if I were to buy a car, right? Now the engine of that car, we are in an EV space, so let's talk about the battery, right? I can probably buy the best battery which is available on any gaming platform to be used, which is minted as an NFT, right? And if I were to use the same battery for other car, if it is multi-layered, in that ecosystem, I can do it, right? Because the car is composed of the components of the car could become an individual NFTs. It means if as a player, if I were to buy, I were to buy the biggest and the baddest battery, I can buy it once and use it at multiple cars. So that is something which I found unique in this one. Again, that if you want to explore more, we can go into this. But this is something which I've not seen many other blockchains even talking about, this multi-layer stuff. The other thing which they talk about on the smart NFTs is that once you mint it, it's not set in stone. So it's like a concept of your permanent memory and the memory that, are hard ROM and RAM, right? So it's one is read only, that when an artist is actually creating an NFT, it could be created with the parameters that cannot be changed. But there are some additional parameters that can be added to it, which can be changed later on by the whoever is holding that NFT, right? Or whoever has a control of that NFT, which is again an interesting concept, right? I haven't seen a lot of folks talking about, or other blockchains even talking about these things. So this I definitely found is something unique that they're trying to do. Or at least the concept is unique. How much they're successful, how much is adoption, only time will tell. So that's on their NFT side. Dual token we already looked at, we already talked about. That's all on the Phantasma side. So if you have to go back and start looking at this checklist, now let's bring up a checklist. And this is our first one. So probably we're going to be rough, but this is what, as a team, we should look at. So let me address some questions first. There's a lot of questions from Zifty. My question so far with their interoperability is, how do they get authority to access other chains unless they're given the permission then to update those chains? No, so again, they haven't, I don't have access to how they do it, but most of these interoperability stuff work through the smart contracts or the stuff called bridges, right? For example, there is on the Ethereum, there are many, let's say, dApps that or DeFi platforms. If you have to use that, you basically take your Ethereum, send it to a smart contract of that DeFi platform. What they will do is to give you a wrapped ETH, WETH. And if you go to the CoinMarketCap, you will be able to see it, all these wrapped ones also. So now, say if I hold Ethereum, but I want to use it for doing some DeFi stuff on Aave. Aave is a separate blockchain, right? It's a separate DeFi system. Not a blockchain, but a separate DeFi system. And in that case, I can basically get a wrapped ETH and then stake that on Aave. Similarly, there is a wrapped Bitcoin. There is I think there are many of those wrapped assets you will see. So what happens in these cases is that they don't directly pull it because they can't make any transaction in the Ethereum blockchain or on the other blockchain, but they might be using a smart contract to move these wrapped assets. Okay, so Sam says, I'm inviting folks from Quora. All right, great, more the merrier. Zifty says, I don't understand, what do these funny pictures have to do with gaming? What do you do with them? I have no idea. But some of the NFTs, funny JPEGs is only an art. But there are, if you go to the gaming platforms, you might be able to buy a ship or a car, which is minted as an NFT. And you can use that, or maybe you can buy a dagger and you can use that in your game. But why people buy it? People find some value in those. I don't find value on at least these JPEGs. But I do see a lot of, there's a whole community around those crypto punks and Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? Now those are being sold. Some of them are being sold for $1 million. Right? Only time will tell in terms of whether it's right or wrong. But the dark side of it is, if you really look at it, this is also NFTs it's also a way to either, I shouldn't say launder money, but eventually it's comes out to be like that. So you can convert your unreported income and buy an art and all that stuff. So some of that stuff is also going around in NFT. When we buy an NFT like battery example, how do we know its functionality? How do we test it? It does not is the physical world. Again, do you have to depend? That's where right now this whole crazy stuff is going on NFT, as if everyone will become, whoever is minting NFT is going to mint dollars behind it. It's not going to happen. It's only based on the reputation, right? If you know that this particular artist or this particular creator has built a reputation in the community, that whatever they are selling is actually will have the properties that they're listing. So if you go to Phantasma NFT may not be a right place. Let's go to I don't know. I've never. Okay. Do they have these? Let's say cars NFTs, racer cars. Okay, let's look at this. They should specify in terms of what the properties, etc. are. Properties of the color, what's the model, what are the levels? Drivetrain upgrade, you want to do dual exhaust, what do you want? What does this have, etc., etc. So you have to build as an NFT producer, you have to build your reputation. And again, you know, if you don't deliver the goods, community will come and give you bad review. It's just like Amazon.com. Right? How do we know it? Because once we start to use it and we don't find that it is good, then at the end of the day, it's all the community reputation that will matter. Grace, I don't understand the domains .x, .crypto, .888. Are these domains extension only for payments? So you can build site on these domains. I haven't looked at these one, but I think on the ENS domains, I did see, apart from ETH also, they were mentioning that you can actually get some other domains and not just ETH. Oops, not this one. No, I don't. Where did? Okay, looks like I closed it. So yeah, again, I don't think having a domain name will restrict anything. Eventually, what you want to build and host over there, but I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it's a common understanding, right? If we are building a commercial application or if it's a commercial business, it's better to have a .com a domain, right? I could either way have a .info domain. And nowadays we are seeing a lot of companies that are getting into AI are having .io domain. Right? Those companies could very well have .com domain, but I think having that particular domain does signify, add a little more description to what type of a business you may be in. So .crypto, .888, if it's being used by a lot of payment providers, eventually we may end up into an unwritten understanding saying if you have a .888, it means you are in a payment space. So if you are in a payment space, then you want to get called as a payment space, then you will basically maybe get that domain, right? Exactly the same way. I got .eth because, hey, I want to have other people know that, yes, I'm interested in this space. I could have very well got whatever other domain is, but the common understanding is if you have a .eth, it means you have arrived on crypto or you're interested in this new economy. And that's why I got .eth. Any other questions? All right. So yeah, so let's look at probably we'll can do this. Oh, okay, so we ran out of time. So if you want to drop off, feel free. Maybe I'll just try to fill up this checklist based on what we have understood so far, and maybe then I'll post the link for this on the meetup. And it'll be great if we can continue to add few more projects, and then you can have access to this document. So white paper, technical white paper business problem details. I think they did specify what the problem they're trying to address, but not in great length. So I'll give them 2. Tech advantage. I'm still not sure if they really have a great tech advantage. If you have a different opinion, do let me know. Let's talk through that. We looked at these papers all together and just trying to figure out, okay, Do we really think they have a very specific tech advantage out of as compared to others? I didn't find any, so I won't award any right now. Scope of the project is really broad. They are into everything. They're into gaming, NFT, yield farming, multi-level NFTs, dApps, DEXs. So from a scope perspective, from a TAM perspective, it's a huge TAM. So I will definitely award them 12. Unique value proposition. Like I said, the only thing which was unique that I found was smart NFTs, multi-layered NFTs. Other than that, everyone else talks about I'm faster, I got NFTs, I got a gaming, and all of this stuff. So 1, 2, I get 2 points. Project roadmap, I couldn't find it on their website. Learn new blog, news and blog, maybe see here if they have a roadmap. Nope. So they do this. Sorry, I didn't even look at there. Okay. So how are they doing against the roadmap? 2019 mainnet smart contract, oracles, storage, NFTs, Neo cross-chain, SDK. 2020 Ethereum cross-chain, Phantasma 2.0, NFT marketplace, smart NFT, dApp connectors, Acto wallet cross-chain. And 21 NFT self-minting cross-chain, and beyond is their gaming platform and all other stuff. So I think they have a roadmap. They have been kind of working to the roadmap. So I'll definitely award points. Competitive advantage. What do you think? Do they have a really competitive advantage against, let's say, Avalanche or Ethereum? These are incumbents. Why would a users go to Phantasma and not on, say, Solana, or not on Avalanche? I at least didn't find any competitive advantage. Today, trilemma solution, they claim to have solved it. But we will come back to decentralization, but at least let's give them some point because they claim that they have solved it. But what they did, we'll probably deduct some point for that later. Investor profile. Who are their investors? Are there investors that Phantasma blockchain investors? Three investors. Okay, so these are their co-founders. One of them co-founder is not with company anymore. I haven't heard of these investors before, so I wouldn't award any more points for it. I mean, I haven't seen A16Z or Redpoint Ventures or some of the more prominent VCs that I generally find in the crypto economy. Right? Block Explorer and activity. They do have an Explorer, but the activity seems to be minimal, 1 transaction per block, whereas they have a capacity of 10K transactions per block, but not much activity happening on that. So, I don't know if it's too harsh. This is our first one. Maybe we'll learn from this. Okay. Token distribution. Token inflation, I would say there's inflation is 3%, which is better than the dollar inflation. So I'll definitely give them a few points, like 2.5. Or rather, let's give them 3 because I think Bitcoin is close to that. ETH is some 2%. Sometimes it becomes deflationary. That's a different one. Token supply. How much is that? Let's look at go to coin market cap and look at Phantasma. PHA. How many overall tokens do they have? Okay, 103 and 103 is circulating. Okay, 103 million. So not trillions of tokens that we have seen in some of those shit coins. So distribution, I think the initial distribution was, I would say, not too bad. Somewhere I read was 25%. So I would give them 2.5 token supply. Sorry, 3 core dev team, advisors, and team size. Let's go back to their website. Look at team Phantasma. See, 5,000 TPS, but no transactions. At least not showing up. The Sergio is a person who was earlier working on Neo, so good experience around that. Now, one of the founders that we just saw on a pitch book, I don't see, oops, which tab was that? Let's close this. Whatever we don't need. Oops. Okay, he's COO. Let's go to their LinkedIn profile. Okay, worked in Oracle. All right, at least got some experience behind him. Scott Gallagher. Believe me, I was looking on another blockchain, and their VP of business development was a student in some country. I mean, not even in US. Okay, so this guy is not even, doesn't even talk about Phantasma. So I understand this may be just an outsourced marketing person, so not really tied with Phantasma, but as you call it, a fractional CMOs. Who are the other key members? As a Phantom Force. These are the ones. Community manager. All right, only 3 key people. The rest are the core developers. Director of client services, content manager. But one red flag is one of the co-founders. What happened to Lee Kai, Alexandre? I don't see them. So a couple of co-founders already left it, which is not a great sign. If you don't even have a project which is yet fully developed. So prior to that itself, a couple of co-founders left and went away. So I would give only very few points for that. Didn't have any information on advisors. Overall team size, when I say I want to look at the team size for that on the dev size. They not great, but not too bad either. No, project adoption. From a total value logged, etc. perspective, they had the detail. So only thing is the soul is staked. I don't know if you have even information available on this one or not, or maybe I'll find it out later. Circulating market cap is around, I want to make sure that this is not, a very small one. Should be at least a few $100 million. What is circulating market cap? Oh, where did we go? 220, which is not big. So I won't award a lot of points for their market cap. It's not one of the biggest one. Okay. Partnership ecosystem. They do talk about having a lot of partnerships, ecosystems. Yeah, D-Space, Phantasma. But there's something a little bit of a fishy around here, because I actually clicked on D-Space and then I realized that doesn't seem to be a really genuine project to me. So I don't know if many of these partnerships are just in the name of partnership, but at least there is some information. We can go and do more research, and then we can award more points to it. Social media presence. Not a great presence on YouTube, because I was trying to search for them. I couldn't find it. I don't know if on Twitter. Who is there following on Twitter? Phantasma chain. Okay, some decent followers and some decent updates coming in. Okay, so we'll give them some point for these. Development activity. I don't know where I can find their Phantasma GitHub. GitHub. Okay, there we go. Only 5 people have access to it. Okay. Repos. Okay, some activities does have, so this is an active project. You see that there have been activities happening in recent times, right? Unlike some of those Dogecoin, when I initially looked at it, I think last year, there was no activity for 16 months. But this is, I would say this is an active project. Performance, okay, I don't have any information around versus Bitcoin. I don't know how to put for a comparison. So we'll come back to that later. Holder friendly actions, just like for a stock, you have a stock shareholder friendly actions, stock buyback, they give dividend. There's an airdrop. I don't like fee burning though, but it does give a little bit bump to the price, but we don't have any information on those ones. So we'll give 0. Now comes to the deal breaker. Is a proprietary code or is it an open source? To me, it looks to be that it is an open source. So we won't ding this team for it. Any rug pull done by the team? Looks like no. Any negative news? I didn't see any negative news around. Management goof ups. This is something wherein I might want to deduct some point, because management has been transitioning in terms of what they actually stand for. They started with, we are focusing on interoperable blockchain, but now as we saw more and more new keywords coming in, they started to expand themselves and say, okay, now we stand for this, now we stand for that. Number 2, I see a lot of okay, so the seashore shuffles will come later on. So won't be too harsh, but I think other is that I don't know which website to believe on. There are 2 websites. Attack surface area. This is where I have more concern on, because of the block producers, the number is limited. It means for someone who wants to attack this blockchain, it's easier, right, than the, as compared to others. So I would definitely deduct some points for this. Say 2, because I haven't seen anyone attacking it yet. It could be because there is no value in it yet. But if it becomes really valuable, then if it becomes, comes in the eyes of the hackers, could it become more prone to attacks? I think so. Complicated tokenomics, yes, it is complicated. I don't know from the Sol and the KCAL, what is that they're trying to do? Why couldn't they live with one? I really don't get the aspect of doing 2. Apart from, if it is just to make sure the Sol is just being used for staking and there is no sell pressure on Sol there. That means it's only trying to bump up the price. So I will deduct some points for the complicated tokenomics. Decentralization compromise, I would say yes, because we talked about it earlier. We gave them a points for trying to solve the trilemma, but at the expense of the decentralization. C-shoot shuffles, yes, we saw at least 1 or 2 people moved out. Okay. All right, so overall score is 33 out of 114. Obviously, that's a really bad score. But we don't have a history. How the others will score, right? So at least this gives us a framework to start building this, and maybe start doing a comparative analysis. So thank you for staying with me while we went through this. If you wanted a short deep dive, it really wasn't a short deep dive, but for a reason it is called deep. All right, so thank you everyone.